call to order the BZA for Wednesday, January 28th. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll do a brief explanation of this evening's procedures. We will hear the case presented by the staff. We will then open that up to public portion. They will give their feedback as to whether they're for or against the appeal. After that, we will close the public portion. Then we will then address anyone that came forward. We may call you back up to the podium and ask you questions to get some more details of what you spoke about. And then after that, we will make a decision on the case. After that, we have unfinished business, which is none. We'll have some approval minutes, and we'll talk about administrative matters. You're not obligated to stay for the entire evening. Just stay for your case if you like, or you're more than welcome to stay for the entire evening. If you will do a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bartolt.
Here.
Miss Owens.
Present.
Mr. Shupp.
Here.
Mr. Thiemann. Mr. Roberto.
Present. I see we have one missing. We have an alternate present.
Mr. Matt Teesort.
So we call Mr. Matt Teesort to sit on the board, please. And before we proceed, we need to just do a little bit of housekeeping. All of our board members will be sworn into office. So we'll have our law director swear in each member of the board, please.
Yeah, thank you guys, Mr. Chairman, so much. So I'm going to have everyone stand and raise your right hand just because it's the first time of the year to swear everyone in. I'm going to just have you repeat after me, obviously fill in your name, obviously my name, but so please go ahead and raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Ronald Roberto,
Solemnly
swear
that I will uphold the Constitution
I will uphold the Constitution
and the laws of the United States of America,
and the laws of the United States of America,
the Constitution and the laws
the Constitution and the laws
of the state of Ohio,
of the state of Ohio,
and the laws and resolutions
and the laws and resolutions
of Colerain Township,
of Colerain Township
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of a primary member
the duties of a primary member
on the Board of Zoning Appeals
of the Board of Zoning Appeals
in and for Colerain Township,
in and for Colerain Township,
Hamilton County,
Hamilton County,
State of Ohio,
State of Ohio,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Great, thanks. We'll have you execute.
Thank you. Thanks for your patience on that. The next will be swearing in the applicants. So anyone planning on speaking this evening. If you plan on speaking this evening, it looks like we've got a good, healthy list here of names. Please stand and raise your right hand. You swear or affirm that you will tell the truth and nothing but the truth before the Board of Zoning Appeals? Say, I do. Thank you. You may be seated. With that, we'll hear our first case, which is BZA 25-38. The applicant is requesting a variance to build two one-unit dwellings on a GOR zoning district, which is prohibited by use permission table of the zoning resolution. This request is for property located at 11050 East Miami River Road, parcel number 510-0300-0016-00, in the GR Green Open Recreation Space Zoning District. Does the staff have a presentation?
I do.
Thank you.
So as Mr. Roberto stated, this is BZA 25-38 at 11050 East Miami River Road, a variance request in the GOR zoning district. The applicant and soon-to-be property owner is Corey Kaysen. The request is for a use variance to allow two single-family dwellings on a single GOR zone parcel. The property consists of approximately 11.225 acres along East Miami River Road, with frontage extending west towards the Great Miami River. The applicant proposes to subdivide the parcels into two lots with one dwelling unit per lot. The homes are intended to be owner-occupied, one for the applicant and one for the applicant's brother. The variance request is limited to residential use approval, and the lot split is a separate administrative process that the applicant is working on. The proposal emphasizes low-density development and preservation of the site's natural and wooded character, which are the goals of the GOR. If you turn your attention to the screen, this is where the property is located, very rural area. If we zoom in, we can see this is a large, over 11-acre property. It has a very large pond on it. And the best way to see this proposed split. You can see it through this professionally done survey, or you can see it where the applicant drew it. And he laughed and said his drawing wasn't that good, but I actually think it gives a great picture because it shows a shared driveway leading up to two houses on two lots. And it shows how there is frontage along East Miami River Road, but that frontage will not be developed, so it'll only be on this side of the road. The pond will be on Mike's lot, the driveway will be on Corey's lot, and this is for two brothers. They're gonna build both of these houses, if approved. So the zoning issue, it's staff's opinion, the following are the issues. It's in the GOR, green space, open space, recreation. The goal of that space is to limit development and density. The applicable table, 3.1.4A, comprehensive use permissions, does not allow a single-family dwelling to be built in the GOR. So the request is elevated as a use variance, not a rezoning. This is key. This property is not being rezoned. That would be spot zoning. This that would be legislative as well. This is a variance request. Staff findings, the property would yield a reasonable return without the requested variance. The request is substantial in nature. I think developing in a low-density neighborhood or zoning district is substantial. Granting the variance would not substantially alter the neighborhood character, though, or harm adjacent properties. The property owner did have prior knowledge because they came to staff in our office before they built. The applicant's predicament of having two parcels or one house on each lot, or one house at all, could not be obviated without the use of a variance. And the spirit and intent of the zoning resolution would be observed, and substantial justice would be done if approved with conditions. So for that reason, staff recommendation is approval. Mr. Roberto?
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Yes. Would you like to come give a presentation? Talk about the case?
Hi, everyone. My name is Corey Gason. I'm soon to be the property owner. We actually close on the property this Friday, contingent upon the board's approval. So David covered the case substantially, I would say. He covered the majority of it, and I appreciate you putting the picture up there, David. My son and I, we got to do that together. As before we made an offer on the property, my son and I, and my brother who's in the back, we walked around the property. So he's 6 years old, so we had to put that together to give him context of what we were trying to do here. As David showed on the picture, right, the blue line is more or less where we're splitting the parcel in half. And the other drawings that he put up there, we actually had a surveyor come out, and that's what they provided us. So we had it professionally done, so we knew exactly where the parcel would be split in two. And as the picture showed, my lot's gonna be the top lot, and Mike's lot would be the bottom lot on the pond. And David also covered that we're gonna do a shared driveway because the goal is to impact the land as little as possible. We want the trees, we want kind of the seclusion, and I think that fits the mold of the area and the green zone entirely. So we do plan on doing a joint driveway. We're gonna break it off at the very end so I can go left and build my home for my family, and then Mike's gonna go right and he's gonna build his home for his family. And upon approval, that's what we're looking for. We've been in White Oak and the Colerain area for the greater part of 15 to 20 years. I live on Sheed personally. Mike lives on Blue Rock Road. So we're just looking to obtain acreage, what we don't have today, to kind of build our own family compound, if you will. It's kind of our family's dream to stay together. And we plan to live there for the next 20, 30 plus years and kind of pass it on to our children as well. So that's kind of our use case in a nutshell, and happy to answer any questions.
Well, it would help you if you can present what's the hardship or why we should grant this variance over, why we should allow this. So if you can kind of present something along those lines, that would be helpful for the board, I believe.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, what we're looking to do is we're not looking to just build a subdivision, right? We're proposing that we're building 22 plus square footage houses in these areas, right? Mine would be around 22, my brother's would be around 27, I believe, just what we're speaking with builders. So we're looking to build very nice homes. To me, that would only increase the area and livability of the area for others around it as well. Again, while not impacting the green zone or the area as a whole.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else to present?
That's it.
Perfect. You have anyone else speaking for or against this case? I see no one else signed up on the sheet. Matter of fact, you guys didn't sign up as well, but anyone speaking for or against this case? I see none. Can I have a motion to close the public portion?
I'll make the motion to close.
Okay.
I'll
Motion's been made.
second it.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bartolt.
Yes.
Miss Owens.
Yes.
Mr. Shup.
Yes.
Mr. Tsort.
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. Thank you. Ms. Owens, you have any questions for the applicant?
I have no questions.
Okay, Mr. Bartle?
No, not really. I mean, I would assume the shared driveway is going to be an easement legally so that future property owners
Correct, we're
will
going.
be allowed to use the driveway.
Exactly. We're going through the parcel process, which, working with David, he's been fantastic throughout the process, just making sure we're doing everything, appropriately, making sure we're obtaining the appropriate approvals. But yes, we'll do the easement as well for the driveway to make sure that's done right.
And this GOR staff,
Yeah.
obviously there are houses in this district,
Yeah, there are, and they've been allowed.
but it's a GOR mainly because of the river? Is that how it all started?
No, we just determined there were areas where it's not appropriate to raise the density any more than it is. But when we do see low-density requests on huge lots, I think those are more appropriate than someone coming in with a subdivision, as Mr. Kaysen mentioned. Can I also mention, I did not read the conditions, which I typically do, but they were in the packet and they are on the screen.
That's all. I mean, do you want to read them now, or?
Yeah, let's go and read the conditions, please.
Okay, I'll read them. Prior to issuance of any new construction zoning certificate, the subject property shall be formally subdivided into 2 separate lots in accordance with the applicable Township and Hamilton County subdivision and lot split requirements. Each dwelling unit shall be located on its own individual lot. Vehicular access to the 2 dwellings shall be provided by a shared driveway utilizing a single access point from East Miami River Road, with the driveway branching internally to serve each parcel unless an alternative access arrangement is required by the county engineer or other applicable agency. The portion of the driveway located the first 500 feet measured from the center line of East Miami River Road shall be constructed of a hard, stabilized surface like concrete or asphalt and shall not be gravel. Clearing of trees and vegetation shall be limited to what is necessary for construction of the dwelling, septic systems, utilities, and driveway access. Existing wooded areas and open space outside the development's footprint shall be preserved to the greatest extent practical. No principal structure, accessory structure, grading, or land disturbance associated with the approval shall occur on the portion of the subject property located west of East Miami River Road between the roadway and the Great Miami River, except as may be necessary for lawful maintenance or otherwise approved through a separate review process. And this approval is granted specifically for 2 single-family dwellings, 1 on each lot, as described in the application. Any additional subdivision of either resulting lot or any proposal that increases the number of principal dwelling units beyond 2 shall require new zoning review and approval and shall not be authorized by this variance.
Thank you.
So my last question is, do you agree with these conditions?
Yes, I do.
And you don't plan on any, like outbuildings?
I was speaking with David about that. I mean, I would love to put up a pole barn at some point, but financially speaking, that's not in my near future. I'm focused on getting the house.
That would be a
first, but-
future variance?
No, they could do accessory buildings by right, so long as they meet the other standards of the zoning resolution.
Okay, any
Okay,
other
that's all.
questions?
Thanks.
Okay. Mr. Tsort?
So, in our packet, it just says 5 to 6 acres for each parcel.
Yes.
Do you have the number of acreage that you're planning to ask for?
It's 11.25, I believe, is what the lot is listed at, and we're just splitting that straight down the center based off of the surveyors, breaking that up.
How we
into
come up
2.
with that.
So it'll be evenly distributed.
Right. So, yeah, I definitely like the low density aspect of it.
Yep.
And, yeah, just a comment, I'm sure you'll get with staff when construction comes along and, meet all the conditions for construction. As mentioned, for outbuildings, you want to keep in mind in the future where that might be. So keep that in mind when you're building your primary structure.
That makes sense.
That's all I have.
Yep.
Mr. Shup?
I have none.
When did the GOR, when did we create that nomenclature?
October 2024.
And what was the space before that?
I don't have the history of the zoning, but I imagine that it was something like R1, the most rural residential zoning.
Okay, so it would have been a residential with a number acreage lots assigned to it, probably 5 acres or something along that line?
Correct.
Okay. So they're meeting that, if we were to revert back to what they had previously, they are falling within that requirement. I'm trying to, we move things around, and I just want to make sure it makes sense that if we're going to grant a variance, because now we're creating that domino for the rest of the GORs, that it's justifiable. And it was already that space way before, therefore it's justifiable to allow that variance to take place.
I think there's a appropriate argument to say that a residential dwelling unit should maybe be a conditional use in the GOR, so we can review it with those standards, because as you mentioned, there's really no hardship standard here.
Correct.
There's more is this going to impact the neighborhood standard?
Which is not what this board's supposed to use the measure with.
The Duncan factors are one, and then the hardship is another.
So that's why I'm presenting my thought there as to, all right, it was already approved in essence by the township. We changed it to GOR, they came in after the fact, yeah, they knew what they were buying into, but it's not gonna adversely affect the township because we already had it that way. So, all right, I have no other questions really for you. I will reiterate what Mr. Tietzel said. So when you're doing your planning for your septic and all that, to keep that in mind when you want your outbuilding, because you come back to us and say, well, you can't put the outbuilding, we got to put it in the front yard now because the septic's in the way. You got to plan that out ahead of time.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. We're relying on the home builders and the architects and all that stuff to kind of map that out. We just haven't got there in the process yet, because again, the approval's contingent upon us closing this Friday, but once we get there, we'll make sure we're following the appropriate
Perfect.
steps.
I just got to throw it out there.
Thank you.
All right, I have no further questions. Do we have a motion to close the public portion?
We did that already.
Or do we have you can go sit down then. So, do we have a motion to approve or deny the appeal?
I'll make a motion to approve it with the staff recommendations 1 through 6
With recommendations?
as conditions.
Okay. So motion's been made with staff's conditions.
I'll second.
Second, any discussion? Roll call vote?
Mr. Bartolt,
Yes.
Miss Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shuck,
Yes.
Mr. Teesort,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. Your appeal has been approved. Get with the staff and they'll tell you what the next steps are. All right, that brings us to the next case, BZA 25-39. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow an accessory structure to be 10 feet from the property line rather than the required 50 feet. The property is located at 7918 Thompson Road, parcel number 510-0450-0043-00 in Colerain Township, and it is in a rural estate residential zoning district. Does the staff have a presentation?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Roberto. Everything he said is correct about the parcel and zoning district. The applicant is Josh Leonard, and the property owner is Jeff Obermeyer. The details of this, it's a request for an area variance to allow a detached accessory structure, pole barn, closer to the front yard lot line than permitted. The property is a panhandle lot with documented site and placement constraints. The proposed structure has been revised. There was a previous hearing where this case was denied by this board. The material change has been made as the building was revised. Before it was 30 by 30, and now it's 36 by 24. So the square footage has not changed, but the dimensions have changed that will allow the building to potentially be further away from the property line. The accessory structure location remains forward on the lot due to septic system and other site limitations. The applicant evaluated alternative locations but determined them infeasible, which the applicant will speak about. The proposal includes additional mitigation measures to address prior neighborhood concerns, and that's in a condition. If you turn your attention to the screen, I'll show you some maps and images. So we can see by this dot that this is also in a very rural area, not far from the last case. And if we zoom in, we can see this is a flagpole or panhandle lot that is behind another lot here. This house was recently built by the Obermeyers, and in the middle of it, it has this triangular shaped pond. And this shows kind of the property ownership according to the Obermeyers. So this is their, again, flagpole or panhandle shaped lot. This is the Ferris property and the Wells next door. So they sort of have to drive between the properties to get to theirs. The proposed location of the barn, as you'll see, is kind of right when you get up that panhandle. and it's in this little turnaround area. Mr. Miller and I went and visited. We can see that the turnaround is relatively flat compared to the rest of the property, which has severe topo issues. And you can see those in this picture. This was taken from the Obermeyer's front porch and sent to staff. The proposed site is that turnaround we were just referencing that Mr. Miller and I drove up and saw. And you can see that it's very wooded all around this turnaround area. So this is the proposed site where the barn would go. And you can see the entire rest of the property kind of has these steep hills. I haven't seen too many outside maybe Thompson Road in the township that were that steep. So this is showing 10 feet from the property line. I do believe the applicant wishes to revise that and create a little bit more distance from the Ferris property line, but it shows that it's 400 feet, 50 feet back from the rear property line and 50 feet from the side property line. So those all conform to the standards of the code. It's this one property line to put the building in this turnabout that's surrounded by woods that is causing the request for the variance to be made. So the zoning issue is that in the RER rural estate zoning, residential zoning district, section 4.2.3C4, exceptions to accessory location restrictions, allows accessory buildings to be in any yard only if set back 200 feet from a right-of-way and 50 feet from all property lines. The request here is either 10 or perhaps 16, as the applicant may say, so it doesn't meet that 50. There have been no changes that it would have been allowed under previous code. It would have been it would have required a variance under previous code and current code. The proposed location does not meet the setback requirement. If it were not on a panhandle lot and not far back, it would not even be allowed to be in the front yard. So typically we only allow these type of accessory structures in rear yards, but they are so far back from the road. Staff findings: the property would yield a reasonable return without the requested variance. The request is substantial in nature. Granting the variance would not substantially alter neighborhood character or harm adjacent properties. The variance would not adversely affect government services. The property owner had knowledge of prior zoning restrictions. They came to us and asked before building. The predicament cannot be feasibly obviated without a variance. The spirit and intent of the zoning resolution would be observed with proper conditions being made for this being approved. Those are from the Duncan factors, which we use to evaluate cases. And as a side note, the hardship in this case is the topo issues that we can see from these pictures. So this applicant has a positive Duncan analysis and a hardship, but staff still seeks guidance. Given that this board denied this case previously, I didn't think it would be appropriate to recommend approval, so I will leave this in the hand of the board. There are conditions on the screen, if approved, I'd like to share. The applicant shall provide and maintain a continuous landscape buffer along the south property line to screen the proposed accessory structure from the adjoining property to the south. That would be from the Ferris property. So basically, the next parts of this condition are: the buffer shall extend for a minimum of 4 to 5 linear feet, beginning west of the pole barn in front of the structure and continuing east of the pole barn behind the structure. The buffer may incorporate existing vegetation, provided that it's sufficient density and opacity to reasonably screen the structure from adjacent property. Where existing vegetation is insufficient, the applicant shall install supplemental plantings, including evergreen trees and/or shrubs to provide year-round screening, and any required new plantings shall consist of species with an expected mature height of not less than 15 feet. These will provide a buffer all across the barn where the only thing any neighbor will see are trees, if approved. Mr. Roberto?
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Want to come and give your presentation? And state your name and address for the record, please.
Jennifer Obermeyer, 7918 Thompson Road.
Jeff Obermeyer, 7918 Thompson Road.
Thank you.
Josh Leonard.
And what's your address, sir?
My address is 113 Main Street, Ripley, Ohio.
Thank you.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes.
Can we just ask that if you're all going to be up there, only one person speaks at a time so that we can take the minutes? Okay.
Sorry. Good evening. I'm Jen Obermeyer, and this is my husband, Jeff. We live at 7918 Thompson Road, like we just covered. Also with us is our builder, Josh Leonard, with Queen City Builders. Thank you to the board for granting us an appeal and allowing us to discuss our request for a pole barn variance. In addition to giving us more storage, the pole barn will improve our property aesthetic and value, which is positive for the township. First, our deepest apologies for not attending the September meeting. It was our understanding that our attendance wasn't required, or we would have certainly rearranged our schedules as we had prior mandatory engagements. In early May 2025, we plan to request a variance to install a pole barn in front of our house at the turnaround from Colerain zoning. However, in late May, we were notified by Maggie in her 5/21/25 email to Josh that pending regulations would increase panhandle setbacks to 50 feet that were approved in late July after the 30-day referendum. Because this new rule would force the structure down a steep embankment, we requested a variance for both front yard and a 10-yard setback. 10 foot. The request was denied because Jeff and I were not in attendance to explain our reasoning for variances. As stated in our letter to the board, due to extreme topographical, logistical, and utilities constraints, only 2 viable flat locations exist for our pole barn, with the driveway turnaround being the only economical choice. The property constraints. 1, placement limitations. A steep lake slope and underground utility lines prevent placement behind or beside our house. Additionally, extensive, no disturbance septic drain fields, both primary and secondary, as dictated by the Hamilton County Health Department restrictions, prevent access and placement beyond those septic lines. 2, site selection. Of the remaining flat areas along the easterly property line, the turnaround site is the most logistically and cost-effective. 3rd, visibility. The turnaround site is significantly lower in elevation than our house, and as seen in the provided photos, natural vegetation and elevation changes block views from the neighbor's house. If the property allowed for better alternatives, we certainly would have used them. This location is necessitated by the physical limitations of our land. We have tried with a good faith effort to assuage the concerns brought forth, including relocation. We attempted to relocate the pole barn 300 plus feet back to meet the 50-foot setback requirement. However, Hamilton County's additional mandates for that site increased by $44,000 in addition to the cost of the pole barn, making it cost prohibitive. Due to these topographical and financial constraints, we returned to the original site, the only other viable flat location. Variance differential. We narrowed the building from 30 feet to 24 feet and increased the setback from 10 feet to 16 feet. This 16-foot setback is the maximum possible due to the embankment. These adjustments demonstrate our effort to accommodate concerns while maintaining a logistically feasible building site. Fence. There was no pre-existing fence between us and the Ferris property. While the Wells claim we removed their corner post and fence, witnesses confirmed no fence has existed there for 15 years. Furthermore, no post was present near our driveway when we began clearing overgrowth. Any barbed wire or fencing we encountered was already downed, hidden in brush, or attached to the few remaining posts. And I have photos and video to prove that if you'd like to see that. We intend to install new fencing along the portions of the property line between our lot and the wells. Visibility. Due to significant elevation differences in which the turnaround is 15 feet lower than our house, and with dense vegetation, the Ferris's house is not visible from our property, even in winter. Photos and videos confirm this lack of visibility. The proposed pole barn will sit in the lowest spot of the most conducive places to build on our property, even being over 20 feet below the Ferris's highest point. And I have measured that their house is over 377 feet away. Furthermore, we plan to add evergreens along the property line. Easements. We had just had our property line surveyed again for the third time, and the surveyor informed us about an easement that, because they never had their property surveyed, the Ferris's, whatever, we had just had our property line surveyed again, and the surveyor informed us about an easement, and that because they never had their property surveyed, did not know some of the lower portion of their concrete driveway is actually over on our property line. So I'm assuming we can drive on their driveway. That's great news because we're planning on running the internet separate from ours to the pole barn for security purposes. Their septic system is also in the easement. We have made a good faith effort to address the board's and neighbors' concerns regarding the pole barn's placement. We aim to be considerate neighbors seeking a solution that benefits all parties. Big thanks to Josh for sticking by us and supporting us through this lengthy process. And truly, thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else have speak in your party? No. We'll do questions a little bit later after the rest of the public's had a chance.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, is anyone else? I'll just go down the list and read. Looks like we got a couple of people that have signed up. How about Susie and or Rick Ferris? Name and address for the record, please.
Rick Ferris, 7914 Thompson Road.
Thanks, sir.
Oh, Susan Ferris, 7914 Thompson Road.
Thank you very much.
Now, some of the last part they were talking about there was kind of news to me. They've had several surveys. Like she said, this was her third survey. We do have a survey plot.
We have two surveys.
So we do have a survey of the property. The first couple of surveys marked the property line 3 feet off of our bottom of our driveway in between them and us, which is where it should be. The last survey by, I don't know who, put it over 3 feet right onto the edge of our driveway, which is incorrect. So if that's, we'll have to sue them for that or whatever, that's fine. But that's not good. But as far as the pole barn, I thought we already had this decided last time we were here, and it's been resubmitted by a third party, who doesn't really have standing in this matter. After reading the new application, I didn't really see any information that would change the current ruling. The extra expense to put it where they can put it on the far corner, which they're not showing here, but does go up a little higher, slightly, and is level enough for them to put their 50-foot, a setback of 50 foot in their pool barn back up there. Now, it may cost them more, but that's not my issue. That's their issue when they set up their whole property. So I kind of feel like when the township put this 50-foot setback in the books, that really this is the situation they were thinking about. You know, they're saying we're not going to be able to see their pole barn. They're talking about a 12-foot high pole barn, 24 foot long, 10 foot off of my property line. Now they're talking about 16 foot now, which till now was always 10, and I don't think they could put the 24 foot wide pole barn 10 foot from our property line without it still falling off the edge. So I just think that we should stick with the current ruling of 50 foot. I don't see why it should be changed. They haven't really submitted any reason other than their poor planning and the shape of their property. That's not my problem. It's their problem to find a place to put their pole barn where it should be the legal setback. So that's the way I see it. Questions on, as far as that
And
goes?
we'll do questions a little bit later.
Okay.
Thank you.
So my wife has a few points she wants to hit on.
Okay, thank you.
Well, and they do have another site that they can build it on. They said it, and it might not be cost effective, but again, like Rick said, that's not our problem if it's not cost effective. They mentioned about a fence along our property line. There was never a fence between our two property lines. Two owners prior to them started putting up a fence. That was before we bought our property even, but it was never completed. It just had a couple. But that was on the property line. We have surveys. We have a survey from 1983 from the two people before us. And we have our survey that was done by our builder, by the company from our builder. That was done in 1991. So we do have surveys. As far as their surveys, that line has moved a few times. They did have it surveyed at one point, and it was at one stage. And then they had it surveyed again this other time, and it moved over. I do have pictures of where the two were, because on the first survey, there was a little damage to our driveway, so I took pictures just in case. Back to the barn. They want to build it closer to our property line and infringe on our right. We have a right to have their building 50 foot from our property line, as the code reads. It is a hardship to us, I believe, having it close to our property line, because it could create liability issues, which I brought up. I also believe it might devalue from our property, possibly getting a buyer when we decide to sell. I certainly would not want to buy a piece of property if I walked the line and saw a pole barn almost. Let me see, what else? Oh, the easement. The easement's clearly here. We did know about an easement. The builder knew about the easement. Everything was approved by Hamilton County as far as the easement goes. I also have been working with the recorder's office. Josh at the recorder's office, not Josh, but his name, find his paperwork. On the easement, and it is for electrical and water runoff. That's what the easement is for. And I have his email and his paperwork that he has sent to me, and he's gone back as far as 1937 to find the easements. We also have an easement that crosses our driveway for the electric company, and that is for our property only. And that is an easement that we gave to CG&E, of which they surveyed to make sure the lines were over our driveway. So I don't have that survey, but I have the measurements, for that easement. So they're all recorded. So anyway, as far as the barn goes, I think it's going to be a hardship on us. I think it's going to create liability issues down the road. And I think it could devaluate our property. And I believe it should be 50 foot back so they don't infringe on us. And so that they don't cause any neighborly issues there. That's all I got to say. You got anything more to say?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
This signature's hard to understand. There are two other people that have signed up to speak on this behalf. Okay. It's all right. What's your name again? Say for the record and your address.
Agnes Wells, 8082 East Miami River Road.
Okay,
Dan Wells, 8082 East River Road.
okay, thank you.
Regarding the actual building, I think we should look into considering that that's what the ruling was at the last meeting, and also that they knew when they bought that property that that would probably be an issue. Kind of like what you were telling those people. Make sure you watch where you put everything, because if you want to add stuff later, it could be an issue. So for me, I think you should keep the last ruling for all the comments that these guys have said and what we have said from the last meeting. Do you have anything on that? So my only thing is, like they brought up about the fence. That fence has been there since the age of time. They tore it down. They admitted to tearing down my barbed wire in that. It's an old barbed wire fence. And we are actually going to get it resurveyed, that property. Now, that's going to cost me $2,500, which I wasn't counting on, or more, depending. Because when we're looking at it, we think, and I might not be 100% correct, we think his underground line goes in my property from the pole. So we never gave no permission to do that, to run an underground electrical line on our property. Nobody came to us. Nobody talked to us. That's why we were going to get it resurveyed, because my daughter and her husband are looking into building on that side of our property. The fence part, they cleared it out and cleared more into my area. I like the wilderness. That's how we kind of wanted it. He talked to him. You can carry that part on.
Yeah, when they first started building, me and my son, we went up there and was checking it out, and I noticed the fence was down, and I had asked him, I said, hey, you took our fence down, and he said, don't worry about it, we're going to put another one back up, and it's going to be better than the one that was there. I left it go as that, and the more I look into it, down by the road, where the corner fence was, that they said was never there, it was there, because I remember when they first started putting the driveway in there, it was right up against the corner fence. And when I say right up against it, I mean it was right up against their driveway. And like she said, since then, they had put a pool in our property, and I don't know where they got the electric running, but we're wanting to put a fence back up. And as far as where the electric's running, I'm not sure if I'm going to be hitting electric lines when I go put that fence back in. That's my only concern, is the fence being tore down without being asked, and was told that they was going to put the fence back and it was going to look better than it was.
And that was 4 years ago.
Whether the fence was a rickety old fence or not, the fence was right there on the property line. I knew where everything was. Everything's gone now. Fence line is completely gone, all the way up the hill. That's my only concern, because I was thinking about maybe running some animals again. Now that the fence is gone, I got to get a survey to make sure that I'm putting my fence back where it should be. She said she had some photos and pictures or whatever that the fence wasn't there, or they said somebody said that the fence wasn't there for 15 years. I'd like to see that myself. I did take some pictures of their driveway and where the fence used to be and where the telephone pole is. Got them on this here if you want to see them.
We would keep it, so I wouldn't turn it in unless you want us to have it forever.
And we'll show you on, do you have it on your phone?
And it's really probably not relevant in this case. We're talking about the setback.
So, that's just our opinion.
Yeah,
I mean, also, they come and said, now we're going to put you up a nice fence, where they're supposed to do that 4 years ago. You know, so now we're paying for a surveyor to come in. Boy, this guy's surveyor's making a lot of money off of doing the same line.
My only concern is their electric. where the pool is. I'm not sure if that's where the electric comes down and goes underground. But it's probably, I'd say probably 15, 20 feet on our property where they got the telephone.
And that, again, will be outside the jurisdiction of this particular case. All we're here to discuss will be the setback and, you know, you being neighbors to that property, your opposition to that setback and why. That was what really we'd like to address.
Right.
Like I said at the last meeting, I'm not here to start any trouble, any problems. I just want done what's right. I wouldn't go to somebody else's place and clear their fence down and you know, and make it look like it's mine without asking. That's saying.
And back to the property thing, it's like the building, what you said was, the reason the Colerain Township has these rules and that is for it. Homeowners, when they buy them, they should be able to know it. I don't need to knock real estate people like you guys got me last time. He's a real estate person. He knows the laws, I'm sure, and should know when they were building the house, how to situate the sewer system and all that, that they could do that. So that's like with my daughter builds up there, I know she's got to be so many feet. Talk to you guys, figure out how far that she's got to be off to building the property too. So I just think it's I vote no for it, just because I'm afraid it's going to set a precedent for all of Colerain Township. And there's a lot of people that live in our area, and I think my mom and dad's property also butts up to theirs in the back. So I don't want to see all suddenly a building over there on their 50 acres either. So I think they should stay to what the ruling is from the previous meeting.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, thanks, sir. Hey, ma'am. I see no one else has signed up. And did I miss anyone? We have a motion to close the public portion.
I'll make the motion.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second's been made. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartolt,
Yes.
Miss Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shup,
Yes.
Mr. Tsort,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. Mr. Tsort, do you have any questions for the applicant or for anyone that spoke?
I think my question is more for staff.
Okay. Go ahead.
Is financial circumstances contribute to feasibility?
The board does not have a review criteria item that takes into account financial circumstances. However, you make a decision as a whole. So no, that is not in the review criteria.
Okay, and so the applicant mentioned 16 feet
Right.
instead of 10.
The packet had said 10.
Right.
I was not sure if they were going to be able to meet the 16 feet. They went back and they worked on their plans and they found a way to meet that 16 feet and increase their previous request 60% instead of the 10. But when I published the packet, the 10 was all I was sure of. But it sounds like the 16 is going to work now.
Okay. That's all the questions I have.
Mr. Shep?
I have one for staff, but I can't recall what it was. Maybe it was part of what you asked, about the 16 feet. Because I see here, one of your recommendations would be, or suggestions,
For conditions, you mean?
conditions, if we approved the variance, would be a buffer of plantings 15 feet high.
Yeah, that's because the building can be up to 15 feet tall, but we're talking about the 16-foot setback.
Okay. That was it.
Okay. Ms. Owens?
I think it was we talked
Come on up.
potential liability. I just want a clear, if you will, you wouldn't mind just giving me a clearer picture.
If a tree were to fall down and hit the building and do damage, if water would run off the property and cause flooding and damage stuff possibly inside. There's several different things that could be a liability to us with it that close.
I think the biggest liability would be the resale of our property. If someone were to see that, buying the property and, hey, why do you have a big pole barn right next to your property line when it should be 50 foot away?
And they do have another place to build it.
Okay, I just wanted,
And honestly, the 50-foot is to protect all the neighboring properties.
thank you. No other questions?
Okay, Ms. Bartle?
Well, no real questions, although, I did go to the Cages map. It's
Yeah.
not really a question, it's just thoughts. But on the Cages map, which is a website where you can see properties, it looks like the Ferris house is 455 feet away from the turnaround area, plus or minus. And it also looks like the Ferris garage faces the Obermeyer property, because I know at the last meeting, you had mentioned you didn't want to see this building in the wintertime. But it looks like your garage actually faces.
Yes, that is my bedroom.
So the bulk of the house, the views are maybe, I don't know if that's north and south, but, and then there's another house near you that's 300 feet away. And I don't know if you see that house or not, but based on the distance and the large amount of trees, I'm still curious why it's such a problem, like if a variance was granted. The liability issue, that could be valid if a tree hits. Now, if it's a growing tree, that's one thing. If it's a dead tree, it's another thing. But so I don't really have any questions other than I do appreciate we did get more information from the applicant, because I didn't realize last time that the turnaround was so much lower than the adjacent property. And so the additional information, and I think we have septic drawings that show how much land that takes up. And just the fact that it's a very steep site, and that's a hardship. That's why we have variances. Yes, 50 feet is the standard, but if there are hardships, that's why variances are granted. But I don't think I really have a question for the applicant other than if worst case happened and the variance was not approved, I guess you would then what, not build, or you would build in that other location? You can come on up if, just curious.
Ideally, being in the turnaround would be the ideal spot. If we had to go in the back with the additional costs, that would be something that we would have to figure out. We budgeted so much money for the things that we want to do. Another $44,000 just to put in a foundation and a retaining wall and move dirt on top of the building wasn't something that we were looking to do.
So so it's the building cost plus an additional
Yes.
to get to that other
Absolutely.
location. Okay, thanks. That's all.
Having you present this time helps your case a lot, just so you know. So I'm glad you were actually here to represent yourself and give your logic behind why you're doing what you're doing. What changed from last case to this case, though, is really 6 feet, correct? And a big part of what I think doomed you on last case is you weren't here. Thank you for coming in and explaining. In a hardship, in this particular case, you're creating your own hardship because you're wanting to put a building that doesn't exist in a place that shouldn't exist, but you have the opportunity to go somewhere else with it, then that's your hardship. Or you don't build anything at all. And so you put us in a hard spot, but if we need to follow the law, and the law says that you should be 50 feet from the line. And 16 feet is not 50 feet. I mean, it's 34 feet short. And so unless you can do something to help reduce that width of that building to get to 50 feet, I don't think you're ever going to get there because you'll have no building left. It'll be a sliver. And that's all I got to say. Does anybody want to make a motion to approve or deny?
Can I ask staff one more thing?
Sure.
And this is for any conditions on any case. One of your conditions was if the existing vegetation isn't sufficient, there should be new vegetation.
Yeah.
Who makes that call?
Well, the applicant would really make that call. If there were something that they did incorrectly, I guess we could follow up with our code enforcement. But as with all conditions, they're self-policing until we're informed that they're not correct. And we do zoning inspections for new builds, but we would not do it in this case. The reason it's worded that way for some context is we didn't want them to clear out existing native vegetation and plant a bunch of trees. We want native vegetation where it's appropriately screened, so.
Sure. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for staff before we make a motion? Okay. Anyone want to make a motion? You know I can't.
I'll make a motion to approve the variance with the conditions as provided by staff.
Okay, motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second that, with an emphasis on the conditions that the applicant mentioned, adding evergreens to obfuscate the fact that you're going to be 16 instead of 15. Instead of 50, you're going to be only 16 feet from the property line.
So you're specifying they need to add evergreens along the property line to add a buffer?
Well, the evergreens are mentioned.
If applicable, wasn't it? Was it a mandatory or was it?
Where existing vegetation is insufficient, the applicant shall install supplemental plantings such as evergreen trees and/or shrubs
Okay,
specifically.
so I guess the question would be, well, what would be
year-round screening.
sufficient? So that's raised for interpretation. So do you want to specify that they have to do it? That way it's not left to any discernment.
You can give a number,
Right.
you know?
That way, we're clear on what they have to do, so that way it's not left to, because you already see we got some discrepancies on property lines and
Right.
where things are. I can just see that's just cause of, if we don't have exactly what's there, because it's left to someone's decision other than ourselves.
Then we can have staff go out and make that determination
No,
once the building's
No,
built.
they got enough to do. So if you want to make a condition or change that condition, that's now would be the time we're going to do that. So you're making a second, but that'll be part of our discussion here in a minute, because your second doesn't support the first.
Right.
So you got to either support the first or you don't second it. Make sense?
Understood. I'm not going to second it.
All right, thank you. Do we have a second? It's going to die. Do we have a motion to,
I'll second it.
we're going to second on Bob's?
Yes.
Okay, so a second has been made. Any discussion? Now would be your time to discuss.
So I think we as a board should consider coming up with a number of evergreens to mandate them to add to the existing vegetation to screen the structure from the property line.
Okay, so,
I would say that's hard to do because we don't know what the existing vegetation is and we don't know what the new construction, how it's going to impact the existing vegetation. It could be fine. I mean, after he builds it, it could be fine. But if we tell him to put in 10 evergreens, it could be for naught because the existing vegetation's sufficient.
hence discussion.
Okay.
Okay.
I think the intent of the conditions, hopefully the applicant takes it into consideration and does the right thing.
The motion has been made to To approve with the conditions that staff has presented, and a second has been presented. Any more discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartolt,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
No.
Mr. Shup,
No.
Mr. Teetsort,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
No. All right, so we'll move on to the next case. Unfortunately, your appeal has been denied. Case number BZA 26-1. It'd be for property located at, applicants requesting variance to allow an accessory structure to exceed the footprint of the primary structure. Property located at 3261 West Galbraith Road, parcel number 510-0083-0144-00. It's in the single unit residential zoning district. Does the staff have a presentation?
I do.
Thank you.
So this applicant is Lou Anevsky, and the property owner is Galbraith 3261 LLC, which is also Mr. Anevsky. The case details a request for variance approval has been requested to rehabilitate, expand, and repurpose an existing secondary structure. The proposal includes repair and expansion of a secondary building to approximately 70 by 60 feet and a two-story building. Proposed uses include a daycare center use in each building and a residential apartment on the upper floor of the primary building. And I will let the applicant speak to this, but I believe also the secondary building would have an apartment upstairs. The site constraints, there are two existing buildings, including an abandoned and deteriorating secondary structure, and this request is intended to establish a pathway for reinvestment and redevelopment of a problem property. The proposal requires careful review due to the SUR, Single Unit Residential Zoning District, and the proximity to established residential uses. Much of this presentation will be visual, so let's turn our attention to the board.
I'm getting a drink, I'm getting a drink.
Yeah. So this is at one of the busiest intersections in the township, Colerain and Galbraith. So it's adjacent to that commercial zoning district. When you turn on Galbraith and you go down, there's a pretty visible line where residential started. These are not new residential dwelling units. These are very established residential dwelling units, and virtually or almost all of them are used for residential purposes. These two right here being the exception after this Georgiana line. So this parcel, Mr. Anevsky's parcel, is really a gateway between what is heavy commercial and residential. So it is appropriate for some sort of mixed use here, or use that leans business, but also has residential components and feel. And staff has worked many hours with the applicant to try to come up with what that looks like, where it would be appropriate in a way to blend in the neighborhood. So this is just a closer view of the property. You can see the dot is over the main building. That's not really the building that's subject to this request, although some of the conditions rope the building in. Where it says ROW, that's right-of-way. There's existing parking in front of this building that's actually on the Hamilton County right-of-way, and people who are not familiar with backing out of here often back out into Galbraith Road, impeding traffic and causing a very dangerous situation with this very large curb cut that this property has. So this is one of the, we've had several proposals from the applicant. This is the one that made it in the packet. So this is basically outlined as the main building and an addition with a covered patio. So the applicant is claiming under this plan that this would be a mother-in-law connection onto the existing building. There's an alternate version of this where there's no connection and the two buildings are separate with a walkway between. There's been other proposals to perhaps tear the building down, to do other modifications to the building, but this is kind of the one that is subject to today's review. Mr. Miller?
Let me just make one clarification, that this particular site plan is a last-minute submission. It's not what was in the original packet that went out on Friday. So the original one had two separate buildings on the same parcel, did not have the breezeway connection, which are the two darker black lines in between that. So the more recent discussion that we've had with the applicant is this particular drawing, and I think that's what he wanted to present for your consideration tonight. So just wanted to make sure you knew that this is the drawing that is for your consideration, but it was not the one that was in the packet.
Yep, thank you. Thank you for clearing that up. So this is the proposal that Mr. Anevsky is making. And staff in our entire department feels as though the building on the right is appropriate for the neighborhood. It's appropriately scaled as a gateway between commercial and residential, given that it has a commercial and residential component, potentially upstairs. It would have 3 tenant spaces, which is heavy use and heavy density for the site. But given that the architecture of the building blends in with adjacent houses, which you'll see in a minute, this building could potentially be appropriate with the right conditions. The interesting thing is, in this rendering, nothing at all has changed on the left building. So the mismatch between the two buildings is not properly scaled for the neighborhood. And I circled the building to show you that. This is another submission. We've had many submissions from this applicant. He's trying to work on what will work for this property. We understand that, but this is clearly a commercial/office look to it. This does not tie in the neighborhood character. So this would be an example of something that is not appropriate for the neighborhood. But the interesting thing is, in this rendering, the building on the left is remodeled, unlike the previous one. So some of the imagery I have is from 2011, but driving by, I don't believe these properties have changed very much. This is a non-conforming lot towards Colerain Avenue, directly next door to the building. You can see the yellow awning. There is parking in front of this building, which we'll discuss in a moment. This is non-conforming. Anytime this property needed a variance for anything, I would immediately recommend that we remove this non-conforming lot, because parking in front of this building isn't really in character with the rest of the neighborhood. And when we speak of the rest of the neighborhood, I'll put a little bit of my personal opinion in here. These are some of the most beautiful, charming houses we have in Colerain Township on Galbraith. They're smaller, but they're brick. They're well maintained. People keep up their yards. This is not somewhere where the houses have been abandoned and we're falling into an economic downturn. This is a well-established residential area, even though it's on a busy street. So some of the proposals being made by the applicant would very much like to keep the sign that is on the site. And this is a rendering of what the sign may become if able to keep it. This sign is not appropriate scale for a residential or a mixed-use neighborhood. It is not similar to any other sign in the area. There are a few other ground-mounted signs. They're not pole signs, and this sign is way too tall. Being in the SUR, single unit residential zoning district, we don't permit any ground signs. So every ground sign there is non-conforming. So this is not an appropriate site to put a ground sign on at all. So I wanted to address our opinion on the sign. So this is a report that was made by Mike Stalin of the chief building official of Hamilton County that the building was deemed unsafe. Mr. Roberto, may I have your permission to call another staff member to the stand?
You may.
I'd like to call Mr. Stan Schmiel. He is with our code enforcement.
Does he have a presentation?
I'm sorry?
You have a presentation, sir?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
What you see there is, again, it's from the Hamilton County Building Department. Orders. Written by the building director.
Let the record show that the letter that is on the display has been presented to the board for personal review. We will submit this into evidence.
I do have, if you have any interest,
Is this something we can keep?
yeah, you can have that one.
Thank you. Also, let it be noted that a photo of the property has been presented to the board for our review. We will submit it as an evidence.
So I've been with the township for 3 years, and the building in question has been somewhat of a sore spot. So I finally have, I've spoken with Mr. Anevsky several times to get this project moving, I know he has been in several times over the years, over the last few years, trying to get something together. So at some point, late last year, early last year, I wrote it up, violated the building, made contact with the building department, and their, I believe was from 2023 was their letter. So, you know, it's imperative that this building gets addressed. It's blighted the community. You know, I don't know what the solution is, but we need to have it resolved one way or the other. On my end, I do have it in housing court. So we're that far with it.
Well, this was, he had expired, his right to do appeal was the 22 of September, so.
Yes. So that's the time frame that we're kind of looking at. Like I said, I have it in housing court, Hamilton County Housing Court on the 24th of next month. Barring any miracle, I believe we're going to move forward.
Okay.
I know he's had meetings. I've actually sat in on a meeting with the architect, and, you know, it just kind of seems like we need to get this to a resolve.
Okay. Anything else to present, sir?
No, that's it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schmale. So I had a lengthy justification in the packet, and I would like to read just a snippet of that. A primary concern with redevelopment of the site is the potential for increased intensity and commercial appearance adjacent to these residential areas. The approval conditions address this directly by requiring that no parking occur between either the building and the public sidewalk, and by requiring the complete removal of existing front yard parking areas and hard space between both buildings and the sidewalk prior to construction and/or initiation of the approved use. This ensures that the frontage functions as a streetscape edge rather than a parking lot frontage. Additionally, staff's condition requires that all parking be located in the rear of the building and prohibits the installation of any stalls, loading, or paved parking areas in front of either building. These requirements are significant because they reduce vehicular activity and visual impacts of the public street edge and maintain a more residentially compatible frontage condition along West Galbraith Road. And some additional facts about front yard parking in residential area. It introduces a commercial site pattern that is inconsistent with residential and mixed residential neighborhood character. Parking located between buildings and the sidewalk visually dominates the streetscape, replacing building frontage with vehicles and pavement. Front-loaded parking increases vehicle pedestrian conflict along the sidewalk and reduces walkability. Residential districts prioritize building to street relationships, landscaped yards, and clear pedestrian access to entrances. Rear-located parking spaces reduce noise, headlight glare, and visual impacts on neighboring residential properties, and eliminating front yard parking supports a more compatible residential scaled redevelopment and long-term corridor stability. So this variance request before you would allow the use of the daycare center, but with the conditions of things such as removing all front yard parking and removing the sign. So these conditions were meant, there's a lot of them, but they were meant to balance the intensity of the site, because it's not appropriate to put a development on that site that is not residentially friendly. And the applicant has argued that this will result in half the cost of rent, like his rent's going down halfway, or reduction in the marketability of the property. I challenged this by pointing out that that might be the case on Colerain Avenue, in an area where there are a lot of residential or nationally known brands, big box stores. But this, we have to keep in mind, this isn't a neighborhood area. So if you look at somewhere like some of the neighborhoods around Cincinnati, where they are more pedestrian walkable, you look and the parking is in the rear of the building. That's very frequent. So if you turn back to the screen, if there is no breezeway, then I would argue that ADA and drop-off parking can easily go inside of that yellow box. And the red arrow shows how they could just walk between the buildings and get to the front door of all these tenants just about as easily as they could if there's parking in front of the building. So there's really no need for parking in front of the building. If that breezeway is constructed and it's enclosed, then if I wanted my properties to be marketable, I would make that breezeway so that you can pass through it, or an entryway into either side of the structure, So there are options here that don't require parking in front of the building. I also wanted to point out just some errors in the site plan. So where the parking terminates, there's concrete, and I colored that brown, so you can see where someone would drive through. And what's indicated as, and is currently, grassy area. If you look at the cars on this aerial imagery, there's no way a car could get through there without driving over the grass. So I'm not even sure how well thought out this parking in front of the building is, but it doesn't seem to be all that realistic anyway. And one final thought on the parking in front of the building. As I mentioned earlier, I drew these white lines, just rough, they're not to scale. But backing out over the busy sidewalk into the busy Galbraith Road for the building 1 is certainly something that I don't know why it was ever allowed, but it's something that we have to stop immediately. Whether it's this variance, whether this variance gets approved, or it's a future variance for use variance, I believe the conditions that limit parking in front of the building or eliminate it and remove the sign are critical to making this a useful site for the neighborhood. So staff findings, and this is with the recommendation of approval with conditions. The property would yield a reasonable return without the requested variance. There are options. The request is substantial in nature. Granting the variance would not substantially alter neighborhood character or harm adjacent properties with conditions. The variance would not adversely affect government services. The property owner had prior knowledge of zoning restrictions. Mr. Anefsky owns many properties. He's dealt with zoning before, as he told us. The predicament cannot be feasibly obviated without a variance, and the spirit and intent of the zoning resolution would be observed with proper conditions. And for that reason, staff recommendation is approval, and I would like to read the conditions. Okay, ready? Okay, number 5 is bolded. I think there's 2 options on number 5. Okay, number 1. No parking shall be permitted between the front facade, front building line of either building and the public sidewalk along West Galbraith Road. All existing parking spaces, pavement, concrete pads, and similar vehicular hardscape located in this area shall be removed in their entirety prior to construction and or initiation of the approved use. That includes any concrete pads that are not used for parking. Number 2, an adopted master parking plan is required, would be required anyway. Number 3, all parking for both buildings shall be located in the rear of the building. No parking stalls, loading spaces, or paved parking shall be installed in front of either building. Number 4, all pavement located between the public sidewalk and West Galbraith Road shall be removed and replaced with grass or compatible vegetative treatment. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So there's an area here between the sidewalk and the road. That concrete needs to be pulled up and grass needs to be returned to it. We don't need to leave that concrete so later it can become a curb cut when nobody's looking, or so that it can just remain concrete forever. So that's what that condition's in reference to. Number 5, the site shall be limited to 1 shared curb cut access point serving both buildings. Any additional curb cuts or access points shall be removed and restored prior to initiation of the approved use. Or the site may utilize up to 2 curb cuts. However, the combined total width of all curb cut access shall not exceed 40 linear feet. All existing curb cuts or access points in excess of the limitation shall be permanently closed, removed, and the public right-of-way restored prior to initiation of the approved use. That's the requirement we made at the firehouse on Galbraith that we recently did. That will allow the applicant to do some sort of circle drive that's one way in, one way out. And then you can veer off here to go to the rear parking lot. So that provides the applicant with options. I will reiterate, staff has worked very hard to give the applicant some options and work with them on what they want to see at the site. Number 6, the existing public sidewalk shall be physically connected to the primary front entrance of each building via a paved pedestrian walkway. You guys have heard that one a lot lately. We want the sidewalk to connect to the front door. Number 7, a minimum of 5-foot buffer shall be installed along all lot lines. Number 8, all refuse containers and service areas shall be located in the rear and fully screened in accordance with the zoning resolution. Number 9, an adopted master signage plan is required. Number 10, the existing ground sign shall be removed in its entirety prior to construction and or initiation of the approved use. Number 11, all exterior lighting shall be fully shielded, downcast, and directed away from adjacent residential properties. Number 12, the expanded and renovated secondary building shall meet the architectural design standards of the zoning resolution. And number 13 is key. The primary building shall be remodeled and updated to be architecturally consistent with the secondary building. So it too needs to meet the standards of the architectural design standards. Number 14, prior to the issuance of any zoning certificate, a final scaled site plan demonstrating compliance with all conditions shall be submitted for staff approval. No material changes shall occur without written approval. And number 15, the approved use shall be limited to the building area identified in the approved plan. Any expansion shall require separate zoning review and approval. So anything you are okay with seeing on the site, any of the plans that have been presented, you want to specifically say yes to those plans tonight and the conditions if you recommend approval, or if you vote to approve. Mr. Roberto?
Thank you.
I have a question.
Okay.
Yes.
This is a question for staff.
At least in the handouts, what is the actual variance? Because I don't see it written.
Good question. The variance request is to allow for an accessory structure that's larger than the primary structure. Since both buildings are on one lot, the second building, the building on the right, is technically the accessory structure.
Now, does that go away if the two are connected?
If the two are connected, we're going to need a variance for expansion of a nonconformity, because the site right now is nonconforming because it has really two principal structures. It is a weird gray area, but whether it's connected or not connected, it does need a variance. So you would need to know whether or not he plans on connecting it, and then we can.
So whatever we approve or not approve is going to be just for one or the other, not for both potential.
We could grant either variance. We could say, I give a variance to the building size if it's accessory, and also this variance includes the use of daycare center in both buildings as a little bit of a trade-off for the high quality of development that we expect in our mixed residential areas.
Okay, thanks.
Is the applicant present? Can you give your name and address for the record, please?
Peter Ellis. I'm the engineer for the for the owner. My company name is O'Brien and Ellis Engineering. I'm in at 465 Meadow Lane. I'm in Madison, Indiana.
Okay, thank you.
And I first got involved with this, I think, in 2023. I believe the property was purchased really with an eye to really improving the property. At that time, it was already, I mean, it was a problem property at that time. But I think kind of what's been going on is the owner would, at least as far as I'm concerned, I'm interested in improving the property. It's a very, I mean, it's an interesting project. The other option the owner has is simply to repair the structure, and he did put some, the start.
It was not a repair.
It was not, there's no, well, he did put a roof on it, technically.
It's a fiasco. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay. I won't, we won't argue that point, but I mean, he does technically, but the sides never got roofed in. I will say that we've been going back and forth on this for quite a while. I think he just doesn't really want to put a lot of money into that building if he's going to take it down and build something else. That's what's going on. The reason I think that we have, this is an unusual lot because it's a 170-foot wide lot. All the other lots, two which were professional offices to the west on the Colerain Avenue side, and I think 10 or 12 lots to the east on the same side of the road are all about 60 feet wide. This lot is 170 feet wide. And the lots on the north side, I believe, are about 50 feet wide. Does that sound reasonable?
It sounds accurate.
Yeah,
This is a wider lot.
I'm not trying to exaggerate. I'm trying to be accurate, yeah. And the way this happens, I did a little research on this. This was, if there's an 1850 map, I think, about 1850. You can get on the, I think there's Colerain Township Historical Society. They have a map, and you can see a house there in the middle of, I believe it's a 60-acre farm in 1850, and it's just about right where this building is.
When the road was named Van Zandt.
Okay. I'm not going to try and preach to you about it. You know more about it than I do. But the long and the short of it is that most of the development on the south side of Galbraith came off of that original property. There are several, I think, 4 or 5 subdivisions, actually, over time. And they're all what I call first-generation post-war subdivisions. Prior to that time, you kind of have people are thinking in terms of platting towns or doing additions to towns. They start calling them subdivisions, and et cetera. And that's, I think, what you were referring to when you were talking about the character of the neighborhood. It is yeah, right there. What you have, those are, I would say those are probably 1950 era houses, early 1950 era houses.
52
yeah.
to be exact. I live down the street, so I know a lot about this area.
Be careful.
Yes.
All right. At any rate, I really think the house, the existing structure, which I call the dry cleaner, so it's not a dry cleaner anymore, but it was for a number of years. It's now has a screen printing business in it, although we're trying to change that out for a daycare, and then with the addition of another structure for an adult care. We're not really differentiating too much between it. That's kind of a fine line. But at any rate, if you look at it, I mean, that green building there is what I call an American Foursquare. It's probably, I'm guessing now, I need to be.
It's the 1800s one. It's the original building.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say I need to be careful here. I don't get caught. But I would, that style of building is something you see 1890 to 1920 era. It's has that hipped roof, Foursquare because they tend to be square, and it's really where you start to see buildings have an eave. Prior to that time, you don't. It's a little unusual to see an eave on a building, and that is probably one of the older buildings in that area. The point of this really is that you had. I don't think that was the original farmhouse, but it certainly would have been. I think it was replacing what was there originally. And so farmhouse. There's a little farmyard there, and that's why that lot number 3 in that subdivision is the size that it is. And that's really the point that I'm trying to make. What we are proposing to do is really to kind of keep the pattern of use on that lot, if that makes any sense at all. So you have one primary structure and an accessory structure, and as Mr. Peters pointed out, our accessory structure is, at least as we're proposing it, is bigger than the primary structure. One thing that you pointed out was that we have, what we resubmitted was an addition. That was an attempt to really get closer to being more conforming, is I guess what I'm trying to say. We weren't really trying to complicate it. I don't think it's a big deal for us, one way or another, whether we do 2 separate buildings or they're both connected. I think it's nice having them connected, but I mean, I think that's something we could work out. I was asked, here's, yeah, so that's the setup for it. My client did request that we keep the parking on the front side of the building, 11 lots, and that's what's shown on the drawing. And Mr. Peters, I think if I understand him correctly, does not like.
Sorry, I'm trying to find it.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
So that. Yeah, and that's what we're showing right there. And that is our proposal. It would be a drive coming in, some parking spaces in the front of that new addition, and then, of course, a drive around the back to access parking in the rear. And yeah, so that's I might talk to him a little bit about that. Because I should say that I think Mr. Peters made a pretty compelling argument. But the point of this development really is, if we can go back to the image of the addition, I think in a very genuine way. Yeah, I think so. You made a pretty compelling argument against a more modern-looking building also, so. I think there's a very genuine interest in developing this property to a high level. And as far as when we submitted these, we had talked about altering the facade on the existing addition. What you're looking at there is the original, what I was calling the four-square building, and then a one-story addition was placed on the front of it. What we're showing right there is it was going to be phase 2 of the project, and then with a potential phase 3 to develop the facade of the one-story structure in the front there. So that would be an opportunity to either, I mean, we'd start by removing the awning, and then we'd discuss how to actually make the two buildings work together. And we're not showing you that in this drawing. But the point is really to get a nice development of the entire lot. And I don't know the other drawing did show the building being developed on both sides. I mean, we're not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. That was just the image that made it into the packet. So, right. Yes, in that particular version, that is an idea of how we can develop that existing structure in concert with the addition to the right. We would do something similar in the more traditional version. So I think that's the sum and the substance of it. The intention really is to maintain the character of the neighborhood, and I don't think that we're completely in keeping with Mr. Peters' guidelines. The only thing I think that's at issue right now for us is the issue of parking in the front of the building. And I think I'll talk to my client here, if you'll give me an opportunity.
We certainly will. If your client wants to speak, he certainly can do that as well. But right now you're giving your presentation as to why we should allow it, and then we're going to have the rest of the public skip their fors and against. We'll call you back up for questions.
Okay.
But if you're not satisfied with what you presented, I want to make sure you've given everything you want to present.
I think I don't really want to drag it on.
Okay.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. Is anyone? I've got 3 other people that are signed up. How about? Is it Savannah? I'm going to butcher this name. Is it Bepler?
Hi, my name is Savannah Bepler, and I am the property owner of 3269 West Galbraith Road.
Okay.
The neighbor directly to the right of the property line.
Sorry, if he's going to speak, can you say your name and address as well?
I'm Eric Butler. I live at 978 Hicks Boulevard, Fairfield.
This is my
I'm the
dad.
one that takes care of the property. She's going,
Okay.
helping taking care of the property since the day she bought it. To do all the outside stuff and
Okay.
everything she
You bought the property from the Richardsons?
I do believe, no, it was an older lady. The Richardsons were the previous owners prior to her and then her daughters. They had an RV in front of the house for a long time before they moved to Florida.
Okay.
But I bought the property in November of 2020, and I believe Lou ended up buying the next door property November of 2021. So I know it's been a plan for a long time for something to go on. My concern is, any parking that's gonna go on in the front of the building is definitely a concern, because it's already a hot spot turnaround. It's a hot spot for, there's a huge homeless community that hangs out behind the McDonald's and the Walmart in a way. So I've seen homeless people in the parking lot, laying in the parking lot. I've got a lot of different concerns whenever it comes down to parking situations and constant in and out, in and out. The parking that is in front of the dry cleaner also is a major hotspot for people pulling out in front of people. So that's always also been a concern of mine. I know currently there are people living in the residential part of the building, which is the back of the dry cleaner that was originally the dry cleaner. There was quite a few different things. I know that he originally started building up to fix the roof line, and I believe that halted in 2023. The property's just not taken care of. I constantly have weeds that are coming up on my fence line. I've reached out to Lou this past year and asked him if he could have somebody take care of it, because I didn't want it damaging my fence and then it turning into an issue. The weeds along the very, very back of the building. So yeah, pretty much all of that area. Right now it's dead weeds that are laying down, but this past September they were about 10 foot tall. So there's not anything that ever goes on with this property. I would like to see something be done with the property, but as far as a daycare, that becomes a concern for me, because the survival rate of daycare businesses for 2 years is about 55 to 65%. In about 5 years, it drops to 35 to 45%. I have a high amount of I bought the home next door for privacy. I loved when the dry cleaner was over there. I wasn't a fan of the property with the roof caving in, but it was something that I dealt with. So with having a privacy fence and things of that manner, it becoming a daycare, I'm not sure if the daycare is going to be a 24-hour daycare and there's going to be people in and out at all hours of the day. I have a small child, so having a 24-hour open business is a concern of mine, because I'm not sure if they're planning on it being a 24-hour business to where second and third shift people have people to take care of their adults or their children. Also, if they turn it into a 2-story building, you can, from my yard, look into, if it's a 2-story building, they can look into my yard. I'll have zero privacy whenever it comes down to my daughter and I in our backyard, swimming, playing, anything of that manner. I'm also not sure if this adult daycare will, I know this is also looking way into the future, if this becomes a thing, if they'll accept sex offenders or not, and just, sorry, I had a lot that I typed out and then I just kind of sat up here and rambled. Was there anything that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah,
Speaking to the podium, please, thank you.
the house in November of 2020, and then since then, the property, in my opinion, has gotten worse. The weeds grow up the fence, pulling on the fence. I personally went and had to pull them down and fill the whole single axle dump truck with the weeds and stuff, but the whole back of the yard. If somebody spent a week out there, I'm a heavy equipment operator by trade, somebody spent a week out there, they clean that place up and it looked good. It's a dumping ground for just crap. It's 20 to 25 feet wide across the whole back, from one side of the property to the other, is weeds, tree trunks, logs, just junk everywhere. And then they took some windows out of the garage and they put these little tiny windows in, instead of going and spending a few $100s and getting the right size window to kind of make it look better. They got this little tiny window in a spot that takes a window that's like this, and it's just a complete eyesore. And we've had discussions before about cleaning stuff up, and that we shouldn't have to call him and tell him that the weeds have taken over her fence. You can't even see her fence, and the weeds are 6 feet wide. These vines that are growing up on this fence, and I don't see it happening, because since he's bought it, it looks worse. It is the biggest eyesore, period. It looked better when the roof, the regular truss roof was there and falling down than what's there now. In my opinion, I would have tore it down and built another garage or something just to aesthetically make it look good while you're going through this process. If she wanted to live in Liberty Center, like the renderings of those buildings, or in a shopping center, that's where she would live, in Liberty Center with the shopping center there. To put something like that next to all these beautiful homes, I think it's just ridiculous. I don't see why the board would approve it. So I hope they don't. I mean, the whole front yard, in the front area, that front corner of that grassy area floods sometimes. I mean, it'll get 6 inches of water in it, all the way across that whole driveway, up to right at.
It'll go up to the driveway. It's the
Up to her
grass
driveway
area
too.
that'll flood.
This all floods out, and it's just a mess. In a week, somebody could really clean that up if they wanted to. So, really all I got.
I love the idea of something new out there. I just don't love the idea of some sort of two-story building looking down into my property and parking in the front where it's going to become a hazard even more, where a lot of people are going to use it as a turnaround, just like they do Thornton's or CVS or anything like that. Yeah, I moved to a residential area, not a shopping plaza area, or a next door that can look down into my yard where I have no privacy.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have one other person on my list, is Lou Onoveski. He signed up. If you want to speak, you can speak. He can speak. He's signed up. So.
Can I speak for him?
You're,
Is there anybody else there?
that's the only other person signed up.
So, what I can say for, I think there's a lot of opportunity here to address the issues that you folks have. Yeah, I understand.
Okay, you guys, you need to, hey, you got to address the board, not each other.
Okay. Oh, yeah, all right, sorry. Yeah, right. I kind of knew that.
Sorry, I had my head down, or I would have stopped it earlier.
Can we see the site plan again, please? There it is. Okay. So, a couple of things. One, with respect to parking, I guess if we can modify our request, there are just some issues that I think that we could, I mean, number one, with respect to entrance onto the site, I would propose that we work out the location of the driveway cut with the planning department here as part of, I mean, is there a way to do that? Or does that have to be clarified in the meeting here?
I mean, could specify what kind of cuts are put into place, just like we did for other properties on Galbraith Road.
Well, what I think could work for us here, and I just talked to Mr. Nevsky about this, we would commit to exactly what David Peters presented, which is to remove all of the concrete in the front of the building and replace it with grass. The area on the west side there, adjacent to those properties, you might want to note, would be filled, and that flooding issue would be addressed. I think the previous comment, I mean, I think that's something that could be done pretty easily. Or
Are we talking along the roadside, or are we talking along the back of the property?
I think right there where it says grass.
Okay.
I'm not aware that there's a problem there, but it certainly seems pretty reasonable that there could be. I would suggest that, I mean, if there's a way to make that a condition, that we do that.
Are we talking about making it landscape buffering with some elevation? Is that what you're asking about?
Yeah. And I think that's kind of that is in the proposal already. So all of the concrete on the front of the building, those 5 parking spaces in front of building number 1 there, and then the driveway cut would be limited. A 24-foot driveway cut is probably, that would be a pretty, that's one in, one out. I'm looking at Mr. Peters right now. I do think that it might be nice, in some of the conversations we've had, I do think it would be nice if we could go in, again, imagining this as that same kind of pattern as that farmhouse had there when it was there originally, to be able to pull in and have a curve, you know, to the right and to the left, basically leave the driveway where it is. The reason I say that is that gives us an opportunity to have a drop-off area for building number 1, which would be the daycare, and then have another drop-off area in front of building number 2, which would be the addition.
Are you referencing the driveway that's along the property line, or are you referencing the driveway that's in the front of the property?
Can I walk up and
Absolutely.
I won't be
Please,
able to tell.
yes, please clarify.
What I'm talking about, I'm thinking, I don't really want to get us involved in a meeting that goes on and on, but I think there's an opportunity here for a driveway to come in, 24-foot wide in the center, come up, turn, go to the back. A little bit tight, but I think we can adjust the location of this building a little bit to make it work. We have a drop-off area here, 2 drop-off, or maybe a double drop-off area right here. And, I mean, that could be a drop-off area, or it could be conceived as maybe a parallel. Sold it to Lou just. Those details, I think we could work out in getting final approval of the site plan. But what I'm talking about specifically, we put a driveway right here that goes straight to the back of the building. I think that gets close to the neighbors there. I don't know how they feel about it. I do like the idea of having the driveway here between the neighbors. It's kind of more of an offset. So what I'm proposing is simply 24-foot cut right here, and then maybe an opportunity to widen off to an 8-foot blister here for drop-off building, and then an 8-foot blister right here, and then just direct it. Makes sense.
Well, according to the staff recommendations, they're going to be adopted a master parking plan, so that would have to meet to your specifications anyway, correct?
Correct. We have specifications about circulation and,
So I think staff can work with you in that respect.
Are we way off? I mean, does that sound crazy? I haven't reviewed this idea with respect to your master parking plan and specifications.
if you're asking my professional opinion.
Yes.
I don't think it's appropriate to do any parking in front of the building.
Okay.
So if we can get some sort of circulation that doesn't involve even
Any parking
drop-off
at all?
spaces.
Okay, that's fine.
That's my professional opinion. David, what do you think?
Well, he didn't use the word parking, he mentioned drop-off. So I think that's
I
different.
sold it to Lou, it's a parking space.
Well,
Then it's a
we're
parking
horse
space.
trading, I guess.
I think I'm going to refer to it as a drop-off. I really, what we're talking about is a 24-foot curb cut to access the rear of the lot. And then we'll just have to, as part of the master parking plan, we will work out the exact location. I kind of like having it towards the middle of the lot, but we can, you know.
I do too. And we had recommended maybe up to 40 feet total of curb cut.
Yeah.
You're saying 24, but
Okay, let's just make all of that part of the master parking plan then. The other thing I would like to encourage is, I was going to suggest that we put a window of 6 months on actually getting something moving on the project. Is that a bad idea?
There's an expiration, there's a 1-year expiration on, once we've approved it, isn't it?
the variance is forever.
Okay.
But per our law department, we had asked that question if we can create a date where this has to be done by. Brody, can you?
So I think to David's point, the variance would be for the property forever. And so I think we could,
Well, it's also going to be a conditional use, isn't it?
No, it would be.
It'd be a variance and a conditional use. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a limitation on the time frame on that, on the conditional
If it
use.
doesn't operate for 2 years.
yeah, it would be a
Conditional use.
an abandoned use of it, right? So I do think that, you could, it's not uncommon to include dates of like construction, and essentially they end up being it's like a violation of the approval. So we could issue a notice of violation and, go down that path. So,
And what good does that do us when we did a notice of violation in 2022 for Hammond County, and we did Diddley between now and 26?
I think that wasn't issued by us, was it? Yeah.
Issued by Hammond County. I mean,
Right. Well, the township would move with more speed than the county. I can assure you of that.
I know our people do.
That's right. That's right.
It's having the teeth in order to enforce it.
No, I understand. And I mean, as you all know, there's various things we can do to enforce a zoning resolution, and the zoning standards that are applied through that. And, we have and do go to court to do that and get a court order requiring compliance with the zoning that's been approved. And there are opportunities for fines. I will say, I don't think I'm giving away a state secret here, that while civil fines can be imposed via the zoning resolution, we want compliance. We don't want to be punitive to residents. And so while we may ask for fines, I think in my career, I've only pursued them once, and it was in a very egregious case where it was not the first time we had gone to court with that individual. So I think, and again, not trying to give away our strategy here, but I do think we care about compliance. And so even if we go to court, we're there to get an order that it's a court order that requires compliance with the zoning approval. So I think that is certainly fine in, especially at the applicant's suggestion of there being some kind of, deadlines or, kind of completion points is fine, especially if the applicant's kind of the one suggesting it, so.
All right. Anyway, you're suggesting putting a time frame on when, giving you 6 months before any movement on the property development.
Right.
You suggest, correct?
At the very least, we are representing that we will be moving forward and we will be, within the next 6 months, there will be activity, on that lot. That's what I just discussed with Mr. Nevsky, so. Which would include either starting an addition or removing the building or repairing whatever, something actually happening there. My point is to represent that we're interested in moving forward in a genuine way.
Okay.
Mr. Parker?
Okay.
Mr. Ribeiro, if I might. Peter? Yeah. I just want to ask just a clarifying question. So you're saying you're going to get started in 6 months?
We will not be finished in 6 months.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But it means that Ms. Butler has to look at this for 6 more months.
And the rest of the community.
And the rest of the community.
Ms. Butler, who lives next door to it.
And
there are other residents.
Yeah. Mr. Schmale has you in housing court next month. So Judge Bouchard is going to want something substantive. And for you to say, well, Board of Zoning Appeals has granted X, and we're going to start something in 6 months. I don't know how that will be received. So I'm not in the construction business. I know Mr. Nevsky has done that. You're on the engineering and architectural side. So yes, those things take time. But I think we're at a point of extreme frustration. And it's not just us. It's your neighbors behind you. It's the neighbors down the street. It's everybody in Colerain that drives down to Galbraith. And I'm particularly not satisfied with a 6-month timeline to get started. And I don't know how to write this into a condition that says this needs to be one of the highest priorities of Mr. Anevsky, but that's...
This is what, if not me, I'm writing it. You're going to apply for a permit tomorrow to tear that building down. Period. It's already said, it's in disrepair. It needs to be tore down. It should have been tore down. Why it's been left the way it's been left, shame on it, on whoever is responsible. Because it's really, I mean, it's been a frustration. And I brought it before Stan and several others because it's been a blight of the community. And it's just disrespectful just to ignore 2022 is when this expired.
Correct.
So you're scoffing the law, you're scoffing the community, and now you want to come in before the board and say, oh, we're going to do better, we're going to do good things. It's a lot of, for me, it's like blowing up my rear. I would like to see something done tomorrow. And to say 6 months is offensive.
I understand that.
And I'm speaking for me, I'm not speaking for the rest of the board.
Well, I'll add that saying it's a long time coming would be just a major understatement for this property, that something needs to happen.
Absolutely. Right. It's disrespectful. I mean, I expect the owner to be a community player. He owns a lot of properties in the area. Just respectful to the neighbors is what we're asking. And you've got some okay ideas. I would do something completely different. I would raise the whole lot and build your building 5 times wider than what you got on there so that it's more fitting with the rest of the neighborhood, my personal opinion. But, you know, we'll get to that when we get to questioning. So I'm ahead of myself. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, what I will say from personal experience, I do know that in our discussions, back and forth, the owner, Mr. Ned, he has been concerned that if he takes that building down, he will lose a certain amount of interest in the property. So it's like, are you going to take the building? If you take the building down, you can't build it back without coming before the board.
That's what we're here about here now.
No. If we have permission to develop the property,
Develop it right, then.
I think the issue of demolishing the building kind of goes away.
He's going to have to come to the microphone.
You're talking to the audience, you need to come to the podium, and you're going to give your name and address for the record if you're going to do that.
Okay.
So you need to talk for him, or you let him speak, okay?
Within the next 3 weeks, I think, well, I have difficulty speaking for Mr. Nevsky, but
That's why he should come before here and talk.
Would you like to?
He is signed up, and he should be able to talk. Name and address for the record, please.
What I think's before us, I just like to frame this a little bit. I think if this, if you're approved to develop the property, how quickly can we get that existing building?
You all know we got the capability to do it tomorrow if it's approved.
Name and address for the record for me, please. Just put your name and address for the record. Just
Lewanewski.
Yes, sir. Address.
5589 Boomer Road, Cincinnati, Ohio.
Thank you, sir. Now proceed. You have the ability to do it tomorrow. I've seen equipment on the property. I've seen some pretty big equipment on the property. I know you have the capabilities, so I'm no disregarding that.
Listen, I due respect to everybody here, sometimes it's better to say nothing and you're saying more. You know, it doesn't make sense for me to throw anybody under a bus. I can only say this. And it just doesn't make sense for me to give you a photocopy of a check I left behind. Just let us do it. And so all we're asking for is some front parking. We'll eliminate the parking what's on the old 1890 building, okay? We have 2 leases that we have a daycare and adult care. They're signed leases, okay?
Which we denied them last meeting, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
We denied them that use of that.
And basically, both Mr. Miller and Mr. Peterson's been very cooperative. And we want to do anything for us to clean it up. We don't like it ourselves. We never did. We regret we ever got involved with it. But as it is, I think that if we could just take some time and look at it, it's one of these things that, let's get rid of some of the parking at the 1890 building. The other one would need a drop-off and somebody to walk around. It's difficult to come to the front. If you look at even Colerain Township's building, I could get in here, bore you to death, and show you the picture. They got the same setup over here. And all we're asking for is give us the parking on the right side, give us the ability to do it. You know, there's no gain in going back to the history of why we're kind of playing this game of being skittish about making a move. But I can tell you one thing. One property that I regret doing an improvement that I was asked to do, that they made us tear down, a fruit market next to the drive-through, that it was a beautiful property that our children, when they were young, we would go there, pick up pumpkins, pick up fruit. There was corn, all of that. And so anyway, talking about this, all we're saying is we can take it down very quickly. All we want is your yeses to be yes. Yes, we approve the site. Yes, we can make the connection, and at least give us the parking up front so that respectively, if somebody is being dropped off, they can be dropped off, and somebody can walk around the front. Go ahead.
Well, I think we already got agreement to get parking in accordance with a master parking plan, which would allow a drop-off in the front. So the drop-off is not an issue. Yeah. And
Nothing's been approved yet. This also has to be voted upon. So.
right. We're trying to frame something that the
Right.
board can approve. I don't think there's any issue about drop-off. The drop-off is where the parking spaces are. And what we're asking for is how quickly we can actually begin to take that building down if it gets.
If we've got a plan, approved zoning, we can move right on with it quickly to get it down as quickly as we can get over here. The weather gets better, we could get the capability to do it. 6 months, you know, we
want to tell them 6 weeks or 6 days.
We got to get to it. What we say we're going to do, we want to do it.
Right.
So therefore, I'd say within less than 90 days, we can do it. If we can get something there that's respectable so that it's marketable. I offered Colerain Township to buy the building. I said, just buy the property and let us get out.
So what we got, we're in
Give us 3 months. Where are we, can we, basically what we're looking for, guys, is to make this thing respectable, to have parking on the right side, and the building connected to the new one, and we're willing to get started right away.
We've got to tell them, we've got a nice green space, a lawn in the front of the building.
Well, it would be probably more beneficial to the staff if we actually had some plan of what you're gonna do there. So what we have here is, you know, a couple drawings showing the old building attached to a new building that has a breezeway between it, but really it's all minutia because everything is in flux inside. I mean, I don't know about the board, but I think you ought to table this personally.
Well, all we're saying is, we put a new structure in, connected to the other one lot, parking up front, we're done, we're out the door, we're getting ready to tear it down. We gotta get rid of some of the stuff that's inside, we're ready to do it.
So you're not amenable to tabling this, is what you're saying?
I'm sorry, sir.
So you're not amenable to tabling this to another day?
I'm not really understanding what you're saying.
Meaning we should continue this to another time to give you better time to prepare and present a better plan.
If that's what you would like, I think that we got good communication with Mr. Miller, but we could make a plan even right now. I mean, we're not opposed to stretch this thing out.
I have a question. If
We are still in the public. Sorry? And we still are on the public part of it, so we're kind of got in the discussion mode.
Yeah, we
should have. So is there do you have anything else to present? Then we'll get back to the questions here in a minute, because we've gotten out of order.
Thank you for hearing that.
All right, so anyone else to speak for or against this public? Sir, you can come back up. Name and record again for the record.
Eric Butler, 978 Hicks, about my daughter's neighbor's property. Maybe, if he's talking about cleaning it up, maybe that's what he should do, is clean it up and then come back here, because I don't see it happening.
Okay.
So, like you're saying, table it. I mean, he's got the equipment, he has the capacity to clean it up. I think that's what probably needs to happen. And I think you guys should really take that into consideration, that he should clean it up, tear it all down, clean it up, the eyesore, then come back here.
Thank you for your opinion, sir. Anyone else for or against? I see none. Can I have a motion to close the public portion?
We'll make a motion to close the public portion.
Motion's been made. A second?
I'll second it.
Second's been made. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartolt.
Yes.
Ms. Owens.
Yes.
Mr. Shup.
Yes.
Mr. Teetsort.
yes,
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. Ms. Owens, you want to start us off with any questions for anyone that spoke or the applicants?
I have one clarifying question, and I'm not sure who it's appropriate for, but it's based on the neighbor, the young lady who spoke about it being a two-story building. What is the current? Is it two-story now?
This is what's current now.
Okay. So when it was I guess you said when you first bought the property and it was a dry cleaners, was it a two-story then, I guess is what
That is still a two-story. That's like another lot away.
Yeah, what is
Okay,
on
up
the
there.
left side with the yellow awning was the dry cleaners in the front, and then in the back, the guy that ran the dry cleaners lived back there. Now it is currently, and then the property that is pretty much condemned, I assume.
This piece.
That property, when I moved in, was like a little garage shop kind of thing.
Used to be an old storage barn for horses.
So now there is nothing that goes on at the like garage shop side of things. It is, I've seen some things that are stored in there, and that's about it. And then to the left, which has the yellow awning, that is like a screen printing storefront of some sort. And then there are a couple of tenants that are living in the back.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? Okay. Mr. Bartle?
Well, so it sounds like the breezeway is a definite thing, but I'm not sure about that. That's why we probably need to table this. There was talk about a daycare on the first floor of the new building, but then I thought I heard staff present there's going to be 3 tenants, or it's a building for 3 tenants. Is that true?
That's the confusing thing about this whole thing. I don't know. We've
know
been
what to
presented
do
with
here.
so many options. David, you've heard them say 3 tenants, right? I mean, there's 3 doors.
Right.
Well, the latest version is that he has someone who has committed to operate an adult daycare
In where?
in the addition.
On the whole first floor?
Building on the right.
Yeah, the whole first floor, you don't know.
I don't know anything more than that.
Okay. And then the upstairs is how many units?
The existing one is 1 unit. 1 unit, and I believe the new one would be 1 unit, or 3 units, or 3 units. Okay, so 4 residential dwelling units.
And so, are we saying there's enough parking? If we were to get rid of the front parking, there's enough parking in the back for all these different entities?
Yes, I believe so, but I don't know the exact use of each building.
8 spaces just for your residents that are living there.
Correct. And so we can look at the plan. I mean, they far exceed that. Given the traffic they have now for building 1, they basically have 5 spaces and then some that aren't striped.
Yeah.
In the back, I'm seeing, 25 spaces or so just behind the building, and then a couple off to the side. For the record, I think the most dangerous parking spaces are the one in front of building 1.
Yeah.
I think if the board wanted to entertain some sort of parking in front of the building, I would definitely recommend getting rid of those. If you felt like you were not going to give them enough parking and left a few of those up front, I don't think that's the end of the world. I think it's a real hazard for building 1. David, did you have something to add?
Absolutely. Building 1, front parking must go.
The problem with leaving parking in front of building 2, frankly, is that you have to leave the parking infrastructure. So if you just had the 4 spots, that's not very much concrete. You can still blend that in with grass, but you have to have enough room for them to go in and back out to try to turn around and circulation to leave the lot. And suddenly, your whole front yard's paved. So I think that's the issue with having just a couple spaces up there for unloading.
I believe this concept here has circulation around the building, and it comes out on the left side of building 1.
That's what I was wondering. I thought I saw that as well, which is right on the property line.
Yeah.
So if the master parking plan did require a counterclockwise circulation, there isn't as much of that backing out. Yes, if you're just doing drop off, maybe there's a limited amount of parking, but your drop offs, I think, for either building 1 or building 2 could reasonably be done in the front, but parking reserved for the rear with all those spaces and circulation counterclockwise.
And one more key thing, they said the master parking plan, they'd be allowed to do some sort of drop off in the front. The master parking plan would be bounded by any conditions you place on this. Right. So if there's something that's in conflict with what they're permitted to do in a master parking plan, your conditions would prevail, right? Because you're making a condition on the property.
All right, so, that's kind of why I would prefer to table it, to see concrete, final plans that are a combination of the input from the applicant and is probably meeting with you again to finalize what we think can and can't realistically, happen.
If we're going to do that, I would ask that each person on the board tells me some of their key thoughts,
right,
so that we know what to work with the applicant on and what will kind of, we know we're speaking the same language.
Another one that would solve the next door neighbor's problem is we could dictate that there are no second-story windows on the west side of the new building. If you have an apartment, you can have windows facing Galbraith and facing north and south, but they don't have to have windows on the west. You can lay out the unit so that works that way. Yeah. Huh? Yeah, the bathroom and things.
Yeah, right.
So there's those kind of issues that we could potentially add to the mix. But I still feel like we're too far out to
That's fine. I just
make a
want to hear
decision.
some thoughts from each person.
Okay, that sounds
If I might introduce just another thought as you formulate yours to share. February 24th is housing court. So whether he gets through some kind of approval process tonight here, it does seem like some type of demolition could occur on the building on the right before that date, and prepare the site for what the next phase is that he has planned. And that would get him.
Kind of put him in a better position when he comes before the board.
Absolutely.
Well, the other concerning thing was I thought I heard in the presentation that Phase 3 would be the renovation of the existing first-story masonry building, but we can't have it be 20 years from now. I mean, if there's going to be a Phase 1 and a Phase 2 and a Phase 3, there have to be time frames to when those actually occur.
Mr. Teetsort, any questions for any applicant or anyone who spoke? Staff?
Here's my idea, thoughts, question is the current building number 2 doesn't seem to me it's going to be repaired or modified. Like it's set for demolition. So with the footprint as proposed here, I'm not a builder or engineer or anything, but is there anything saying that the building has to stay in the same footprint? Can the building be moved closer to Galbraith Road with a door in the rear and the concern of a drop-off could happen in the rear of the building?
Mr. Anevsky would like to...
Parking in the front.
My bad.
Okay.
Oh, that was a question.
Right. So that's my question.
Okay, Mr. Anevsky would like to keep at least one existing wall of the building so that it's an addition and not new construction. And that's some kind of nuance with the building department, not us. So that's his reasoning for not pulling the building forward.
Understood. All right.
If he pulled it forward, it would be in line with all the other structures on Galbraith. So it would be positive.
Because it seems like moving the footprint, if possible, might be a better idea, a better plan than what's being proposed. So that's my thoughts.
Mr. Shupp?
Well, my comments would just be, as Mr. Peters mentioned, that other things would just, to see a different plan, more information, incorporating these conditions that staff's put together. That's my thoughts on it.
My thought on it, tear down building 1, tear down building 2, build a bigger version of building 2. Then you can do I wouldn't have as much offense having parking in the front of the building, because now it's set back off the road, it's all consistent. You can do your circle around, you're not gonna end up like PNS where you're getting caught back in a circle and can't come back out. Yeah, if you're gonna do it all the way right. That's my opinion. I think it should be tabled, so they have better time to prepare. So with that, each member of the board, you have something that you feel that should be told to staff so they can have that as part of the discussion. We'll start with Ms. Owens.
Yes, I would like to have the consideration for the privacy of the neighbors with the second story, as well as a more definitive idea of what the master parking plan will be.
Can you guys also include whether or not you're okay with front of the building parking, whether or not you're okay with retaining the sign, and whether or not your feelings on the curb cut? If we know those, it would really help go a long way to making something, actually bringing you back something that you want to see. Can you answer those for me, if you don't mind, please?
Again, no, the parking in the front, the way it stands now, I'm not okay. With the backing out onto Galbraith, I do understand what that could potentially cause. The sign is non-conforming, so no. And the curb cut, I believe, would deal with the parking situation. Those are kind of together.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bartle?
Well, like I said, no windows on the second floor of the residential area. But I'd go along with Mr. Shupp in saying, try to incorporate as many of the conditions as possible in the new plan so that we can react to it. And no parking in front of building 1, in the front of building 1. And remove the non-conforming sign. And, limited front parking at the new area. If it's got to be 2 or 3 spots for whatever reason, that might be okay. But if the bulk of it can be in the back, then obviously I would vote for that.
Thank you.
Mr. Teesort?
So, yeah, I'm not a fan of the parking in the front of either building and removing the non-conforming sign. And then your other was the curb cuts. So the curb cuts that were proposed, access to the rear would be on the west side.
It'd be like this, yeah.
Right.
And then they've mentioned also doing like a horseshoe around this way, but this is only 18 feet wide. I'm not sure what standards are for a drive lane from the county.
That could potentially be like an entrance or exit only type situation or something.
10? Okay. Okay. Okay.
That's what I have.
Thank you. That helps.
I think I've said already, incorporating staff conditions and an agreement with the sign.
And I've addressed, I think, myself, the parking, I think it would be acceptable if the entire building looked like the rendering to the right.
Okay.
Going all the way across, getting rid of building 1.
Right.
Curb cut, then that would be resolved. Sign obviously needs to be removed. It's in the right of way anyway. And, obviously that changing the layout would be part of that, the whole development plan anyway. So I'm fine with whatever staff recommends on that.
Okay. So, Mr. Ellis, Mr. Anevsky, it sounds like, if I may, the board is saying none of them want the sign. There's some wiggle room on the parking up front, depending on site design, for a little bit of parking. Or if you redevelop the whole site, potentially a row of parking. So I think we need to look at those. We need to meet again and come up with something better for the board next month.
Well, we need to table it first, so.
Sorry. Yep, got ahead of you.
So do we have a motion to table this?
I make a motion to table
To next meeting?
until the next meeting.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second's been made. Any discussion?
Is 1 month enough time?
Can you come up? For me, yes, of course. I want to see with the applicant. Is 1 month enough time was the question.
I think 1 month should be enough time. I mean, you always want to have enough time to do it. The real thing for me is, I think we'd like to get to a place where we can make a decision about taking the building down, demolishing it.
I think that building's going to be made for you before next meeting,
Okay,
because the court's going to make you tear it down.
right, okay.
It's irrelevant, really, in our sense. We're suggesting you table it,
Well,
because right now,
1 month
you're going to fail based upon what's been presented to us.
Okay.
So if 1 month is, if you agree 1 month is okay, but then it ends up not being okay, are we allowed to table, does it continue, the tabling, does it continue?
I think you can table it again at the next meeting, but you have to give it, define the date was when the table to.
Okay. So you're saying you think you're okay with 1 month?
Yeah, the thing that I'm concerned about is when we actually, because I think we need to present, do we need to present materials 2 weeks prior to the meeting, or what's the rule there?
10 days is the review period where the
Okay.
community can review.
Yeah, so 1 month is actually 3 weeks, so.
So is that enough time?
It should be enough time. It should, if there could be some wiggle, I'm just concerned if we hit a bump.
Well, if you're not ready at the next meeting, then you ask for continuance, and
Yeah.
we'll have to table it
We
again.
asked for
February
continuance, but
15th.
I think like within 2 months, I think everybody would like to just get it wrapped up as soon as possible.
Okay.
That's not even 3 weeks.
Yeah. The 10 days would be February 15th. So if that's not enough time, then March would probably be the best option.
So, did you hear that? So February 15th would be your deadline.
I would like to try for February 15th if we could have a little bit of wiggle room, because I think we definitely want to have it all together.
Well, the wiggle room is we had 10 days to present to the
Right.
public. So,
Right.
so that's a hard line for us.
Yeah.
So if you don't have it by February 15th, we have to continue it to the March meeting no matter what.
Okay, so would one of us come to the meeting to actually get it continued, or?
You would send a note
You
to
would do
David,
that.
and he would
Okay, all right.
continue it for you.
That's what
Yeah.
that's what we would like to do, definitely.
All right.
We're
All
gonna
right,
try
so,
for our February meeting.
Motion's been made and second to table to next meeting. And any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartolt,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shup,
Yes.
Mr. Teetsort,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. All right. We have no unfinished business, correct?
Thanks for coming. We have none, correct.
Do we have approval of the minutes for the December meeting?
Yes, the minutes have been submitted.
No, I'm asking for approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve
It's
the
been a
minutes.
long night, okay?
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Seconded.
Second's been made.
Okay,
Any
by who,
discussion?
though? Okay,
Roll call vote.
let me grab that. Okay, Mr. Bartolt,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shup,
Yes.
Mr. Teetsort,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. That brings us to, next meeting would be February 25th. We know we have one case.
Well, if that case is heard, but otherwise it's just an organizational meeting thus far.
Okay.
Someone could still apply until February 15th.
All right.
But if that has to be retabled, do we have to come and do that?
We'll just do it as part of the
Well,
organization.
we're gonna do administrative meeting anyway, because we got to vote on all.
All right.
So next meeting will be February 25th. We may or may not have a case. Any administrative matters?
The only one I would say is that we are looking at a couple of bylaw changes, so we'll present those in the next meeting.
Okay. All right. We have a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Motion been made. Do we have a
I'll
second? Second. Any discussion?
Quick
Roll call
second.
vote.
Mr. Bartolt,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shup,
Yes.
Mr. Teetsort,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. Meeting adjourned.